Military career. Doolittle took a leave of absence in October 1917 to enlist in the Signal Corps Reserve as a flying cadet. He received ground training at the School of Military Aeronautics and Army School on the campus of the University of California, and flight trained at Rockwell Field, California. Doolittle received his reserve military aviator rating and was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Signal Officers Reserve Corps of the U.S. Army on March 11, 1918. During World War I, Doolittle stayed in the United States as a flight instructor and performed his war service at Camp John Dick Aviation Concentration Center, Camp Dick, Texas Wright Field, Ohio Gerstner Field, Louisiana Rockwell Field, California Kelly Field, Texas, and Eagle Pass, Texas. Doolittle raided the Army Air Corps into the USAF in June 1941. Doolittle was promoted to lieutenant colonel on January 2, 1942, and assigned to Army Air Forces headquarters to plan the first retaliatory air raid on the Japanese homeland following the attack on Pearl Harbor. He volunteered for and received General H. H. Arnold's approval to lead the top-secret attack of 16 B-25 medium bombers from the aircraft carrier USS Hornet, with targets in Tokyo, Kobe, Yokohama, Osaka, and Nagoya. After training at Eglin Field and Wagner Field in northwest Florida, Doolittle, his aircraft, and volunteer flight crews proceeded to McClellan Field, California for aircraft modifications at the Sacramento Air Depot, followed by a short final flight to Naval Air Station Alameda, California for embarkation aboard the aircraft carrier USS Hornet. On April 18, Doolittle and his 16 B-25 crews took off from Hornet, reached Japan, and bombed their targets. 15 of the planes then headed for their recovery airfield in China, while one crew chose to land in Russia due to their bomber's unusually high fuel consumption. As did most of the other crewmen who participated in the one-way mission, Doolittle and his crew bailed out safely over China when their B-25 ran out of fuel. By then, they had been flying for about 12 hours, it was nighttime, the weather was stormy, and Doolittle was unable to locate their landing field. Doolittle came down in a rice paddy, saving a previously injured ankle from breaking near Tsuzhou. He and his crew linked up after the bailout and were helped through Japanese lines by Chinese guerrillas and American missionary John Birch. Other aircrews were not so fortunate, although most eventually reached safety with the help of friendly Chinese. 7 crew members lost their lives, as a result of being captured and murdered by the Japanese, and 3 due to an aircraft crash or while parachuting. Doolittle thought he would be court-martialed due to having to launch the raid ahead of schedule after being spotted by a Japanese patrol boat and the loss of all the aircraft. In July 1942, as a brigadier general had been promoted by 2 grades on the day after the Tokyo attack, bypassing the rank of full colonel. Doolittle was assigned to the nascent 8th Air Force. This followed his rejection by General Douglas MacArthur as commander of the Southwest Pacific area to replace Major General George Brett. Major General Frank Andrews first turned down the position and offered a choice between George Kenney and Doolittle. MacArthur chose Kenney. 26 In September, Doolittle became commanding general of the 12th Air Force, soon to be operating in North Africa. He was promoted to Major General in November 1942, and in March 1943 became Commanding General of the Northwest African Strategic Air Force, a unified command of U.S. Army Air Force and Royal Air Force units. In September, he commanded a raid against the Italian town of Battipaglia that was so thorough in its destruction that General Carl Andrew Spaatz sent him a joking message: "You're slipping, Jimmy. There's one crabapple tree and one stable still standing." 27 Major General Doolittle took command of the 15th Air Force in the Mediterranean Theater of Operations in November 1943. On June 10, he flew as co-pilot with Jack Sims, fellow Tokyo Raider, in a B-26 Marauder of the 320th Bombardment Group, 442nd Bombardment Squadron, on a mission to attack gun emplacements at Pantelleria. Doolittle continued to fly, despite the risk of capture, while being privy to the ultra-secret, which was that the German encryption systems had been broken by the British. 28 From January 1944 to September 1945, he held his largest command, the 8th Air Force 8AF in England, as a lieutenant general, his promotion date being March 13, 1944, and the highest rank ever held by an active reserve officer in modern times. Escort fighter tactics. Doolittle's major influence on the European air war occurred late in 1943 and primarily after he took command of the 8th Air Force on January 6, 1944-29, when he changed the policy of requiring escorting fighters to remain with their bombers at all times.